My mother had an unwavering belief in the miraculous responsiveness of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. She constantly reminded her children, relatives, and even strangers to sincerely pray to Avalokiteshvara. She firmly said,
"Anyone, whenever they encounter misfortune, accidents, or suffering, if they sincerely recite the name of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, he will save them from danger. Even if the result is not immediate, sooner or later everything will turn out well and smoothly."
The mantra, Namo, great compassionate, great merciful, savior from suffering Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, became deeply embedded in my mother's mind and stayed with her until the end of her life. In truth, at that time I didn't pay much attention to it. Like others in my family, I considered my mother to be superstitious. When I reached secondary school and was exposed to academic knowledge through books, newspapers, films, and stories, I became even more skeptical of what my mother believed, thinking it lacked scientific basis. In the early decades of the 1950s to 60s, Western philosophical trends were popular. Existential philosophy became a fashion idolized by students and young intellectuals. I, a rural boy who had come to the city to study, like many young people of that time, wanted to shed my provincial image by trying to adopt the intellectual trend, wearing white-rimmed glasses and carrying philosophical books by Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre wherever I went. Existential philosophy was a fashionable topic everywhere, on sidewalks, in schoolyards, at train stations, bus stops, cafes, debated and argued intensely. With a skeptical attitude, people bluntly rejected anything they could not see or hear. I myself did not hesitate to set aside my mother's beliefs and disregard her advice, telling myself, all gains and losses, successes and failures in life are determined by fate. Miracles are merely coincidence, randomness, or chance. But as I entered life and faced harsh adversity and bitter failures, that way of thinking left me confused, no longer knowing what to believe. Many people say that happiness and suffering are determined by fate. But what determines fate itself? I often wondered, why are some people beautiful, wealthy, and happy, while others are ugly, poor, and miserable? Born and raised in a large family in a poor rural area, and having lived through years of war, my mother, despite my atheism and that of my siblings, remained steadfast in reciting Avalokiteshvara's name with unshakable faith. Many times we faced life and death situations, with bombs and bullets exploding all around us, life hanging by a thread. Yet my family all managed to survive. My siblings and I were fortunate to live safely, while around us many other families were torn apart, separated by death, too many tragedies to count. This led me to question my mother's spiritual experiences. My belief in Western philosophy gradually weakened, and eventually collapsed completely after a strange experience of my own. It happened in the 1980s. Life was extremely difficult. Not only was money scarce, but time and transportation were also limited. Traveling was not easy at all. Even missing one's parents, siblings, or friends had to be endured. For an entire year, I did not return home. Then one day, I heard that my mother had passed away. I quickly wiped away my tears and immediately arranged to go back, but I soon found myself in confusion, not knowing what to do. Transportation was difficult, money was scarce, and everything was very hard to arrange. While I was struggling, my mother's old teaching suddenly came to mind. Anyone who encounters misfortune or suffering, if they sincerely recite the name of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, he will save them from danger. At that moment, I abandoned all my previous skepticism. I lit an incense stick, stood in the open sky, and sincerely prayed for Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva to bless me so I could return home in time to take care of my mother's funeral. I kept reciting the mantra all night with deep reverence. At 4 a.m., I was already at the bus station lining up to buy a ticket. But at 7 a.m., the station management announced, tickets were sold out since yesterday afternoon. Everyone erupted in confusion and frustration. Sold out since yesterday, why only announce it now? How many people had been waiting all this time? Eventually, people gradually dispersed, realizing arguing would solve nothing. Only I remained. I boldly went into the ticket office to beg, but no matter how much I pleaded, it was useless. I came out, sighed, and sat on the steps waiting for a miracle, perhaps an extra bus, for example. I had been reciting Avalokiteshvara's name all night. Maybe a miracle would come. Time passed, and I was slowly falling into despair. Suddenly, a man approached me and smiled. You look restless. You must have something urgent. I'm not in a hurry. With just that short sentence, he placed a bus ticket into my hand. I stared at him in shock. Before I could even react, he had already turned and walked away. Was this real? I doubted my own eyes. Could such strange luck exist in this world? But the ticket was right there in my hand. Overjoyed, I quickly boarded the bus. Sitting down, I suddenly realized I had not paid him and hadn't even thanked him. I stood up to get off and look for him, but the bus had already started moving. Looking around, I could no longer see him anywhere. I racked my brain, trying to recall if I knew him. Who was he, and why had he been so kind to me? When I arrived home, after paying respects to my mother and handling everything else, my sister told me that thanks to the support and assistance of monks and members of the Buddhist Association, everything had been properly arranged and the funeral had been conducted smoothly. But the question about the mysterious man continued to linger in my mind. After everything was over, I went to the temple to thank the monk and asked for guidance. The monk explained, living beings in this world suffer greatly and create much karma, and thus encounter countless disasters and hardships. Out of compassion for suffering beings, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifest in many different forms and appearances, using various methods to save all beings. In particular, Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara manifests with 1,000 eyes and 1,000 arms, with limitless transformations. In the Universal Gate chapter, it is written, "To those who should be saved by appearing as a wealthy elder, he manifests as a wealthy elder and teaches the Dharma. To those who should be saved by appearing as a layman, he manifests as a layman and teaches the Dharma. To those who should be saved by appearing as an official, he manifests as an official and teaches the Dharma. In general, whatever form is appropriate to save beings, he manifests in that form, blending into the flow of ordinary life, silently saving people. Sometimes people recognize him as Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, sometimes they only know him as an unknown kind-hearted person. Therefore, at any place and any time, he may be present, ready to respond to the cries of those in suffering and distress. However, not every situation can be saved. It also depends on each person's conditions and karma. It is like a rain that falls equally on the earth. Some places receive much water because they are low. Some places are high so the water flows away. Some are covered so the rain cannot reach them. I suddenly thought of the man who had helped me at the bus station. Perhaps it was him. I suddenly understood, and only I could feel it. If I told others, they probably would not believe it, because it is beyond ordinary understanding. How mysterious and yet how close Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara is. I suddenly realized the profound faith of my mother and the meaning of her teachings. Namo, great compassionate, great merciful, savior from suffering Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva.